Well, if you have your Bibles, turn to Proverbs chapter 5. Proverbs chapter 5. And I'll ask you this. What is the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? Like the most embarrassing moment of your life. It's funny, siblings are looking at each other and saying, I know what yours is. Can you remember? Can you remember the most embarrassing? I can remember the most embarrassing thing I've ever. Now I'm not going to tell you, but it's interesting because I struggle with memory. I do not remember things well. I can't remember anything that would fall into the normal memories category. I try to remember things I can't. I try to remember events. They just slip from me. But there are several embarrassing moments in my life that those things I remember vividly. I can remember words that were said. I can remember conversations. I can remember the actions. I can remember what I was wearing because they just stick in you. Well, what have you done? Not that you're most embarrassed by. What have you done that you were most ashamed by? Is there a moment in your life that you think, that was the most ashamed I've ever been that I did that? Can you think of that moment? And again, I can think of moments of that I went, man, that was really horrible that you did that. That was a shameful thing to do. And again, I can remember just as vividly, as sort of, etched into my mind like a scar, almost. But embarrassment and shame. Those are two of our greatest fears as people. And yet what we're going to see is that sin is so deceptive that it will be able to convince you to run headfirst into those two of our greatest fears. Think about that. Think of what your greatest fear is. My kids know my greatest fear, deep water and sharks in it. But think of your greatest fear. What could get you to face that fear? What would it take? For me, it would have to take probably 3 of my kids falling into the deep water. I don't know if I'd do it for 2, but 3. Something like, whoa, it would take something great to get you to, like for me to jump into the ocean. Like, that's not just going to be for funsies, right? Something is going to have to convince me to do that. Well, what we're going to see is the strange woman can convince you to ruin your own life. And to do it with others watching you and watching your house fall in on itself. It's really crazy. But that's what we're going to see Scripture is going to tell us. That's why it's so dangerous. And so just a reminder of where we are in Proverbs 4 through 7 is that booklet of wisdom, a collection of sort of wisdom lessons that all begin with that phrase, my son, my son. It begins at the beginning. The beginning and end are, these, my children listen to these things, and it ends with my children. But throughout them, it's my son, my son, my son. And we saw chapter 4 was on the lessons on follow a path of wisdom. And then the next lesson in that is on have a body of wisdom while you're on that path. They kind of go together in that way, sort of employing everything from your head to your hands to your feet and pursuing wisdom. But there are going to be those, we find out in Proverbs 5. So in Proverbs 4, he's like, hey, walk the path of wisdom. But while you're doing it, you need to think about your body along the way. We're going to see in chapter 5 that there are those who also want us to think about our bodies, but to think about them in the wrong way. That they want us to think about our lips, as Solomon told us to in chapter 4. But they want to think about us to think about our lips, not that our lips would guard knowledge, but that our lips would think about their honey-coated kissers. They want us to incline our ears, but not to incline our ears to wisdom or understanding, but to incline our ear toward their whispered promises. And so now in chapter 5, we've got 2 new wisdom lessons here. But they both revolve around a singular common theme here in chapter 5, and that theme is the strange woman. So if you remember, what is the strange woman? A simple definition I gave last time is a strange woman. The strange woman is a wicked woman who is not your woman, but who's willing to play the part. So the strange woman is a wicked woman who is not your wife, who is not your woman, Remember, in Hebrew and in Greek, the word wife and woman are the same word. But who is willing to play the part. She's willing to do the wifely activities, but outside a marriage covenant. And typically, she's willing to do them in an effort to actually undermine the covenant that you did make, the covenant that you are in. She is someone who doesn't belong in the household because she is not part of your household. She is a stranger to it, a stranger to your world, a stranger to your home. She wants to play house, but in reality, what she's doing is she's working to destroy your house. That's her goal. That's why I think homewrecker is a very biblical word. It's a very apt description of both the intention and the result of the strange woman. So we had one shorter lesson last time on the strange woman that ran from verses 1 through 5, and then we've got this longer, 1 through 6, and then we've got this longer one that dominates really the rest of the chapter. So this longer lesson runs from verse 7 through verse 23, where he gives warns. So in verses 1 through 6, he warns us to watch out for the strange woman, to not to get caught up in her honeyed lips or her smooth speech, to see her for what she is, that she's not sweet, she's actually bitter. It gives the appearance of sweet, but it's actually bitter, and that she's got, and to watch out for her embrace, one that is going to end up with a sword in your belly, remember. She goes to embrace you, but you need to realize that behind her back is a sword that she wants to plunge in your guts, and who we saw is really not seeking your good, she's only seeking your death, all right? But as we're going to see in the rest of the chapter, before you die, she's going to make sure you suffer, okay? Before you die, she's going to make sure you suffer. So this is not going to be a quick death here with the strange woman. She's going to bring everything down on top of you, and you're going to get to watch it as you die, all right? So yeah, really creepy stuff. All right. So let's stand in the honor of reading the Word of our God, and let's read this lesson that our God would give to us about the strange woman, the words of our God as they begin in verse 7, and we'll read through verse 23. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house, lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel, lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and laborers be in the house of a stranger, and thou mourn at the last, when thy flesh and thy blood are consumed, and say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and that have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of water in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken we will do. All right, may you be seated. So he's already introduced this strange woman, and we're continuing on this. What is God's warning about the strange woman for us today. And he's got a few things to say about the strange woman today. Last time sort of look out for her, like be aware of the deception. It's all fake. It's all phony. It's all looks good, but it's meant to kill you. And now he's got more. So what do you do in light of that? So now he's got another lesson to his son. And he says, "Hear, my son, this lesson." And what's he going to say? The first thing he's going to tell us is get far away from the strange woman. First thing to do, get far away from the strange woman. So that's the first lesson he tells us about the strange woman. Get far away from her. Look at verse 7. "Hear me now, therefore, O ye children." I don't know why it translates it children. It's just the word son. "Hear ye now, therefore, O ye son, depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not near the door of her house." So he says, listen up, right? And so notice, she's trying to grab our ear, right? He's already told us, incline your ear to wisdom. She's trying to get you to incline your ear to her, and God's like grabbing us by the ear. Wait, listen to me. Don't listen to her. Listen to me. He grabs us by the ear. He says, pay attention to what I'm about to say, son, and don't depart. Don't depart from the words of my mouth. The way you're going, the path you're taking, what should you do with it? Because he's told us in chapter 4, this is the path you should take. Go toward wisdom. And now in chapter 5, he grabs us by the ear again, and he says, let me tell you this. Don't go anywhere near her. Get far away from her. Far away from her path. And he says, don't even go near her door. Come not nigh unto her door. So get far away from her. Don't even get near her. Don't toy with this sin. Don't play with it. Don't get anywhere near it. This sounds like a father, which is what it is. It sounds like a father describing something dangerous to his children, right? Like when he's talking to their kids about a snake. What do you tell them? You don't go up to them and say, all right, the first thing I want to do, kids, is I want to explain to you the difference between venomous snakes and normal snakes. So you're going to look at their pupils. So let's get close and look at their pupils. Let's check the scales on their underbellies. No one does that. What's the first thing you tell your kids when it comes to snakes? Normally it's, where did you find that? How are you holding it? No, it's get away. Get away from it. Don't play with it. Don't mess with it. Don't even go near it. Get away. And that's what's happening here. But his son has a very different snake to worry about. But this is very much a serpentine woman here. And he wants his son, look, son, I don't want you to ask, is this woman poisonous or not? This woman who is not my wife, is she poisonous or not? I don't know. Maybe I should get close enough to see the pupils of her eyes. Maybe I should get close enough to see the scales on her belly. No, don't. Don't get close, son. Get away. Stay away from her. Why? Because when it comes to strange women, they're all poisonous. They're all poisonous. Just get away. Just get far away. Don't even get near her. Which is just a good warning about sin in general, right? We always want to be careful about that. We don't want to quickly generalize it and be like, really? You should get away from all sin. That's true. You should run from all sin, but that's especially true, Solomon says. Because Solomon didn't say run from all sin. He's talking here about a specific sin. He says you should run from it, especially when it comes to the viperous vixen that is the strange woman. That especially you should run. You should run from all sin, but you should flee doubly from that particular sin, son. Don't go near any of it. But when it comes to her, when it comes to a woman who is not your wife, but seems like she's trying to be willing to play the role of your wife, run. Run. Don't walk, run. Get away from her. Don't even get near her. Now, why? Well, he's going to tell us why. Why is it so important that we get away? Now, if it were a snake, we'd say don't get close or it might bite you. And that's what we're going to see, because the strange woman has fangs as well. So what happens if you don't? What happens if you do go near? What happens if you do get close? What happens if you don't get far away? Look at what happens, and he tells us in verses 9 through 14. He lists out these dangers here, this set of dangers that specifically come from the strange woman. And the first dangers are what she will do to you. Okay? The first set of dangers are what she's going to do to you, and really what she's going to be able to convince you to do to yourself. And this is why it's going to be, well, we'll get to what it's going to cause. This is why it's so crazy and even shameful, is she doesn't even do all this. She gets you to do it. So what's so dangerous about the strange woman? The first thing, when it comes to the strange woman, what's so dangerous about her? She will ruin your life. Okay? She will ruin your life. Look at the first warning. Lest thou give thy honor, you could translate this life as well, unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. The strange woman will ruin your life. She will have you, and this is where it gets great. She doesn't take your life, right? She doesn't take your honor and give it to others. She doesn't take your years and give it to the cruel. Who does that in this verse? You do. Lest you give your honor to others and your years unto the cruel. She is so able to deceive you, to trick you, to mesmerize you, that she'll have you hand over your life to someone else. The years you could have had, the life you could have had, the joy you could have had, she will get you hand it over. And not just to someone, not just to others, but to whom? To the cruel. To the cruel. And that's what the strange woman is. She is a cruel woman. And again, God is putting danger all over the situation here, all over this in chapter 5, because he doesn't want you going in thinking again, well, maybe this one isn't poisonous. Well, maybe this one really has good intentions. Maybe she's just a nice girl. Maybe she's just wanting a friend. You find a woman who isn't your wife, but who is willing to play the part of your wife, and know that is a cruel woman. And you can think about it. Think of how many stories we have of men who have given their lives away, their years away, with women that we know don't even really care about them. Don't even really care about them. And what do we say when we see someone run off into that sin? What do we tell them? You're ruining your life. What are you doing? Why would you do this? I mean, I know pastors who have left their wives and children to pursue younger women while in the midst of pastoring. And you talk, you say, why would you do that? And you know what they say? Normally, click is what they say. Normally, that's what they say, is click, and then you call them back, and you're like, why did my number go straight to voicemail? And they're like, glad I got your email too. Anyway. But they do that, and it looks so crazy to us on the outside because we go, you're ruining your life. You have so much life left, and you're throwing it away for what? All the years you could have had of joy and happiness that come with obeying the Lord, and you're choosing to throw it all away for her? But their response is not strange. In fact, the Bible says this is what happens. This is why you got to stay far away. Because when you're in the midst of it, you get dumb. You get strange when you hang around the strange woman. And people go, why would you throw your life away? That seems strange. She's not taking it from you. You're like, it's not like when you go to the hospital and they're like, it's that weird time when they're like, ask the men to leave the room and they ask the women, like, do you feel safe at home? It's like, what do you think is going on? And this is not that, where you go to him and you're like, what's going on? He's like, help me. She locks me up and beats me. And she's making me do. No, they do it willingly. They do it willingly. That's what's so crazy about it. And that's what Solomon says is going to happen. And so he says, look, you need to run from the strange woman because she will ruin your life and she'll get you to do it. She doesn't have to do it for you. She'll get you to do it. But your life will be ruined anyway. But not only will she ruin your life, that's not the end of her strategy here. That's not even the end of her goal. We often have to teach Christians to be generational thinkers. We're normally very now-centered, but you don't have to do that when it comes to the strange woman. She knows that the only thing better than ruining your life is ruining the lives after you. And so not only will she ruin your life, what's so dangerous about the strange woman? She'll ruin your life. Also, she will ruin your legacy. She'll ruin your life, and she'll ruin your legacy. Look at verse 10. Lest, so here's another lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. He says, in the end, strangers will be the ones who end up with your stuff. All your work that you've done, all your hard work, will not fill your house or the houses of your children. It will fill their houses. The stranger, and notice, the strange woman gets you to take your stuff, and instead of giving it to your kin, she convinces you to give it to her relatives, right? Because the strange woman says, you know who should inherit all your stuff? Strangers. Hey, look, we carry the same name. She convinces you to give it to them, to people in her lineage, people in her family, of her seed. Instead of you giving your inheritance to your house, she convinces you to give it to hers. Because the strange woman doesn't just want to ruin your life, she wants to ruin your legacy. She doesn't just want to ruin your life, she wants to ruin your kids' lives. And again, how many times do we lament sins that don't just affect that person, but we lament what the sin is going to do to the whole household? Right? When that father decided to leave his kids and his wife, it wasn't just affecting him. I mean, one of the sad things is like, do you know what this is going to do to your kids? Do you know what this is going to do to their faith? Do you know how many millstones should be tied around your neck right now? And then you should be thoroughly beaten and then thrown into the sea? I know it doesn't say thoroughly beaten, but I think it would make sense. Thoroughly beaten and then thrown into the sea? And in this case, all your hard work that's meant to be given to your children, the inheritance that you build up that's meant to help your children get a head start in life, all of that is instead given to the strange woman and her kin of strangers. That's what she'll do. And the strange woman isn't just happy with stealing your present. She wants to ruin your future. She'll ruin your life. She'll ruin your kids' lives. She'll ruin your present and destroy your future. And again, what's so crazy is she's not going to have to take it from you. She'll convince you to give it away. And that's really the pathetic nature. It's really kind of pathetic. And that when I was talking to that guy and others in situations like that, there's just a patheticness to it. It's like, God, this is pathetic. Like, this is just sad. Like, it's like that you're doing this. It's just kind of lame. And it's this, and when it's happening, it's this pathetic thing that's going on that everyone sees all that you've got, and you're giving it to these strangers, and everyone's going, what are you doing? What is going on? And how many times do we see that in the end, that's the legacy they leave behind? It's not all the work that they did in their life, but they ruined their legacy with the choice often of following the strange woman. And that's all we remember about them. That's what comes to mind. That's the epitaph when we think of them. Oh, isn't that the guy who, and I can think of pastors, recent pastors, famous pastors, who now, when you think of them, you don't think of all the faithful things that they did leading up to it, though your first thought is, wait, didn't they this? Our church's own history has some stories like that. And it's the last thing you remember about the person. The strange woman wants that to be your story. She wants that to be your legacy. She wants that to be the story that you leave behind. She doesn't want you to leave behind a story of God filling your life with good, and then so much good that it overflows into your streets, not her streets, and it overflows to your kids, and your kids are doing great, both in health and blessing from the Lord, and everything looks like, man, this is what it looks like to 1,000 generations. Wow, this is so great. And you're sitting in a rocking chair, rocking your life away, thinking God has been so good. She doesn't want that. Instead of that, she wants your legacy to be ruined. She wants her to be your legacy. Cruel strangers to be what you leave behind as your story. The strange woman will take everything from you, take everything from your kids, and all she'll leave behind for you is shame. That's the legacy she wants to leave. You want to make a name for yourself? That's the name she'll give you for the rest of your life. That's the name you'll have in the memory of your kids, is shame. That's shameful, what happened. Not all the good, not all the other stuff. She'll steal all that and leave behind only shame. And that's what moves us to the next point about what's so dangerous about the strange woman, because it kind of builds to this. Is not only will she ruin you and ruin your life and ruin your legacy, she won't just ruin you. She's not just happy with ruining you. She'll embarrass you. She will embarrass you. Look at what happens by the time you sort of finally wake up in verse 11, and you notice all that she's enticed you to do and to do to yourself and to do to your own household that you worked so hard for. Look at what happens when you finally wake up, but it's too late. Verse 11, and thou mourn at the last, when thy flesh and body are consumed, and say, how I've hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and the assembly. So there's this day that you wake up to this, where you wake up from like this seductive trance, and you look around you and you see all the carnage that you and she have worked in your life. All that you allowed her to do, all that you allowed her to convince you to do, because her hands are clean, and you repent. You regret what you've done. That's that word, you mourn. It's that word naham. You've heard me talk about it before. It's like an onomatopoeia in the Hebrew. It's like, it's that moment where you go, well, you get that moment, and you repent, but not until the end. It's when you get to the end that you repent and you look back. And it's like looking back at the destruction of a tornado. And it's only then that you look back and go, whoa, look what happened. I didn't realize I was in the midst of it. It's like when a tornado's going on, you just hear the sound, and then you step outside and you see all the carnage that's happened. That's what happens. It's all the stuff that you've lost. But it's not just the stuff. He says, you look back and see that you've lost yourself as well. Verse 11 says, you only look back, and when you do, you look back when your flesh and your body are already consumed. Romans 12 tells us that our body should be living sacrifices, right? Well, the crazy thing about the strange woman is the strange woman can actually convince you to turn your body into a living sacrifice, but to her. She can convince you to be a living sacrifice to her seduction. And when you wake up, you look back and you see that your flesh and body have been consumed, not for yourself, but for her. You've sacrificed it all for her. And notice, you don't hate. At least you have a sense of recognition. You don't hate. You don't look back and it doesn't say, look at what she caused me to do. You have to do with your kids all the time. They made me do it. I didn't want to. Yes, you did. Okay, I did. He doesn't say, and you look back and you go, look at what she made me do. What does it say? You look back and you know squarely where the blame lies. And where does it say it lies? Yourself. Notice how all the regret that he says, it all centers on his own decisions, on his actions. I, my, not her, not she, her. It's very much, I did this to myself. Are you kidding me? I did. It was me. It was my teachers I didn't listen to. It was my ear that wasn't turned. And so what are you guilty of? What does he say? Hating instruction. When you look back, if you fall for the strange woman, there's all these things that have to happen. One thing that happens is you'll look back and see, you had people tell you not to go this way. You hated instruction. Hating instruction. Instruction is someone pointing you in the right direction. Saying, hey, this is where you should go in life, right? If you're not following after a strange woman right now, this is instruction, right? This is teaching you, if you see the strange woman, don't go that way. Don't go that way. Well, here, he says, you know what, I hated instruction. I didn't want to hear it. So what happens is in these moments, if you get close to the strange woman, she'll clog your ears and you're going to hate the instruction that you've heard. You won't want to hear the type of man you should be. You won't want to hear the type of husband you should be, the type of father, the type of Christian. Now you might not say outwardly that you don't want to hear those things, but you hated it. You can see how you hated it. Why? Because you didn't pursue it when you heard it. When you heard the type of son you should be, if you're going to be a good man, instead of going, yes, Father, yes, Mother, let me take their wisdom and pursue that, you went, I don't know about that. I think I know how to be a good man. I've watched, plenty of TV or something like that. I don't know what kids do these days. But you hate the instruction. And it's because you hated the instruction of the person who said, don't go down that way, because you didn't listen to the person saying, don't go down that way. You found yourself down that way. And when you look back, you say, there were plenty of people who told me not to do this. There were plenty of people that gave me warning signs along the way. Plenty of signs that said, don't turn, do not enter, go the other way, wrong way, this way, dead end. And then the next sign is like, no, literally, dead end. But you hated it. But it's not just instruction you hated. What else did you hate? Instruction is hating what you should be. But it also says you despised reproof. He says, I saw how I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof. So reproof is the opposite of that. Reproof is when someone comes to you and says, what you're doing is wrong. Instruction is going to someone and saying, don't do this. In the future, if this comes up, don't do it. Reproof is when someone's in the midst of it, and you come to them and say, what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing. That's wrong. So when a parent comes to you, and instead of saying, this is what a good young man does, okay, I'll do that. That would be instruction. Reproof is you doing something and your parents going, don't do that. That's not good. You shouldn't act like that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't talk like that. You shouldn't pursue those things. That's reproof. He says, not only did I hate instruction, so let's say you go down the wrong path, but thankfully it's not like, going down a cliff where it's like you missed it and boo, and there's no one along the way going, you really shouldn't fall here. This is like you going down the cliff and there's someone along the way who catches you and goes, hey, don't go that way. And instead of saying, woo, thanks for catching me, you go, huh, and knock their hand loose and like, I like where I'm going. That's what it means to hate reproof, is to have someone tell you don't go that way, stop doing that, and he says you despised that. You despise the person who would dare tell you to stop. Now, they know you're ruining your life. They know you're going to ruin your legacy. They know where this leads, and they see you. You've already followed that. You're near her door. They can see it, and they tell you, don't go. Stop. Go the other way. Stop. Don't keep doing this. And you don't want to listen. In fact, you despise that they told you this. This is, again, why often when you do that, that's when people will quit talking to you. It's often the case. It's often the case in counseling. When I'm counseling someone, especially if it's like marital counseling, everyone loves it when I point out what the spouse needs to do, right? But when I'm like, and now they're like, I think we're out of time. I think the kids need. We normally put them to bed at what time is it? 5:30. We normally put them to bed at 5:30. We're big sleepers here. That people, and that's what happens often in these situations. You go to someone in a situation and say, hey, what you need to do, you just need to stop. And you need to go back. And the response is normally not just a closed ear. The response is despising you for saying it. Despising you for even telling them to stop. You say, no one's gonna tell me what to do. No one's gonna tell me what not to do. And you hate it when they do. And so what does he say? You don't listen to them. He says, my teachers I've not obeyed. This is verse 13. I haven't obeyed the voice of my teachers. Those are the ones sort of giving instruction. I haven't listened to my instructors. You don't obey what they tell you you should do. You don't listen to that. Like a pastor points out an issue that you go, oh, I should listen to that. Like right now, if it's like we're talking about the strange woman, you're like, I don't need to listen to this. That'd be a bad sign. If the Lord's like, hey, beware the strange woman, you're like, I can't wait till he gets to chapter 7. I really like chapter 7. Or something like that. That's not a good thing. So you don't obey when people tell you what you should do. You get a sermon on the type of man you should be. You get instruction from your parents on the type of child you should be. You're not going to listen to that. Your ear Your ear in verse 13, which is supposed to be, verse 1, what did verse 1 tell us? Our ear is supposed to be inclined to understanding. It's not inclined to understanding. Our ear has been taken by the smooth words of the strange woman. So it's not inclined to those who are trying to help you. So everyone the Lord has put in your life by His grace, everyone that He's put there to help you, to give you a wisdom you don't have in terms of instruction, to pull you out of the mud when you're stuck in it through reproof, to wake you up and see that the way you're going is going to destroy you and destroy everything in your life, you don't listen to them. Why? Because you know you're right. And after all, it's your life. No one can tell you how to live it. And I love the last verse because he's waking up to realizing this is what he did. I hated instruction and my teachers. I despised reproof and those who corrected me. And then you get this line at the end, because the worst thing about all this is none of this is private. None of this is private. You know, not only does she embarrass you, I can't believe I acted like that. Not only does she get you to do this, she gets you to do it in front of everyone. Look at the last line of the sinful lament of this person. What is going to be the last line of someone who doesn't listen, who goes after the strange woman? What's the last line you're going to say? I was almost in all evil. I mean, that would be enough, right? Like, because the strange woman is a gateway drug, right? I've never met anybody who left their wife and kids and suddenly got holier after that. It's like, the thing I only really struggled with was leaving my wife and children. It normally devolves into, you know what, I think gays are okay. It just all devolves, and then it normally ends up being like, and you know what, I think I is one. It just kind of keeps going. And that's what he warns about here. Like, I was in the way of all, I was almost, like, she got me to do this, and it almost made me jump into all of it. This is the danger here. Is the strange woman is a gateway to offer your body as a living sacrifice to sin itself. And if you can break that most sacred of covenants that you have sworn between God, in the midst of God, the holy angels, and the congregation of the righteous, if you can break that, you find out, well, I can do anything. And the guy says, I realized that I was almost in all sin, and not only in all sin, what? In the midst of the congregation and assembly. Sin is never satisfied until it has humiliated you. That's why I said it's not going to be a quick death. When it sticks its sword in your belly, when the strange woman sticks her sword in your belly, she's not aiming for your spine, she's aiming for your guts. She wants it to be slow. She wants it to be painful. She wants you bawling like a baby as you die. And sometimes sin so blinds us that we don't realize at the end that we should have been humiliated long ago. Because I did all this in the midst of the congregation of the assembly. I was doing all that, and everybody knows. Everybody already knows I should be ashamed. Everybody already knows I should be humiliated. Everyone else can see how far we've fallen in life. And at the end, it's everyone sees it but us. And so we delve even into all evil for her. We'll do it for her, and we'll do it in a way that everyone can see. And it's pathetic, but it's a very public pathetic. And that's what's so shameful. The strange woman will embarrass you. She'll embarrass you about yourself. I can't believe I acted like that. I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I didn't listen to these people. I can't believe that. And she'll embarrass you in front of everyone. And I can't believe that everyone saw that. Now, that's not all that Solomon has to say on the strange woman. We're going to look next week. He's going to give us the remedy against the strange woman, like a way to protect yourself. And we're going to see that one of the greatest protections against the strange woman is a good marriage and a good marriage bed. So we're going to look at that next week. So, be looking forward to that. But what sort of application can we get here? What sort of application can we see? I think the most clear one, of course, men. In light of what he said in these first two lessons, because this is about the dangers, really, and the next one's going to be on this protection for quite a bit until he gets to also remember that God sees everything. That's going to be another sort of danger as well. But men, beware of this strange woman. Again, anyone who is flirty or who is getting a little too close physically or emotionally, right? She said she just wants to be authentic with you. She does, she needs someone to open up to. Get far away from language like that. Get far away from, there's all sorts of double entendres in language that you should be aware of and recognize that the emotional itself is the gateway to the physical. And so when that happens, run far away from that. Run far away. If it's like when the cop tried to shake me down for money in Tanzania, and he was like, "Shouldn't the church give me money?" And he said, "Where do you go to church?" He said, "I go to Anglican church." I said, "Well, go to your church. They'll give you money." Some woman comes to you and says, "I just need someone to open up to. Do you have a husband?" "Yes." "Open up to him." Open up to them. Don't open up to me. Don't talk to me. I'm not the man in your life, and I'm not going to play that part. Stay far away from her, men. Don't even toy with this sin. Think of it like a snake. Don't pick it up. Don't play with it. Don't see if it's poisonous. Don't see if it's a friendly snake or not. Get away from it. Run from it and stay far away from it. Why? Because she will ruin your life. She will ruin your legacy. She'll ruin your life, your kids' lives, and she'll embarrass you. She'll shame you, and she'll do it in front of everyone. And if you knew that, like the Bible told you to know that, you wouldn't get anywhere near it. The Bible's already told you how to deal with this. It said, get far away. It's even told you the type of poison that she'll shed. And let me add this, men. Today it's you need to beware of the strange woman even more so, because the strange woman today doesn't even have to exist in your physical world, right? And this is why it's even or just as poignant. Of course, we don't have like cult prostitutes and stuff like that. That might be even more of a thing to deal with. But men, beware the danger specifically for us in our age of the electronic strange woman. The woman who wants to show you just how willing she is, but it's a digital replacement. Your wife not willing, your wife not heeding your advances. Well, I will at the click of a button. It's so easy today for the strange woman to enter your home. And today you don't even have to open the door for her. You don't have to today. You don't have to set up a secret rendezvous. You don't have to figure out what hotels run an hourly rate or anything like that. You have to do that anymore. All you have to do is swipe up on your phone. But men know that the digital strange woman is just as dangerous. Just as dangerous. And she will ruin your life. And she will ruin your legacy. She will embarrass you. She will shame you. That's her goal. And every time you let her in the house, know that's what she's wanting to do. And she may not embarrass you this time. She may not embarrass you next time. You may not get caught this time. But her goal is to ruin you. Because her father, the king of strangers, wants to ruin your life and to ruin the gospel legacy that you're trying to build. Don't think that any of it is innocuous. Don't think that any of it is random. She will destroy everything in your life, and she won't even know that you exist. She won't even know that you exist. You're just another couple dollars in her bank account at the end of the month. I think another good point of application, the danger of the strange woman is not just a danger for men. Okay, now I will say this, it is more of a danger for men. We don't want to flatten the sexuality curve here. It is more of a danger for men. But ladies, you too must be aware of the same sin, or shadows of that same sin, of a man who wants to make you feel pretty, or who talks about, you really deserve some me time. Or tells you, you know what, I think you just need to live a little. You seem so trapped in that house. Now, this is more of a problem today, again, because of the prevalence of women working outside the home, where, again, they're just around more men all day long who know them not from Adam, and men who are away from their wives. But there's a reason, even before the prevalence of women in the workplace, even before that, there was still the story of the milkman, right? And that was still a thing. There's still an old story out there. And now we see, I hear people on Facebook talking about, this is Tom, he's my work husband. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Does Steve know about your work husband? And does he know? Like, I know where this is going to, I know that that's shameful and weird, but does he? And I just cringe all the time thinking, Proverbs, all over statements like that. And ladies, I'll say this for ladies in particular. If men need to be aware of the digital danger, I think from what I've seen, and this is just sort of just my view of culture here, for women, you need to be more aware of the book danger or the movie danger of this. Again, in those instances, like if you go to the women's section of the bookstore, it is a salty section in the women's book world. And all the most popular books for the last 2 decades are just softcore pornography. Like, that's the best sellers. And I'll say this, those sorts of interactions, they feel distant, right? It's in a book, it's a movie, I'm just watching it. But those feelings you're getting are real. The feelings of someone who would love you the right way. The feelings of someone who would give you what you really need instead of being distant from you. Those feelings about that person are real. The thoughts are real. And I've heard this, don't say, but I'm thinking about my husband when I read those things. Yeah, when you're reading about a 6'5", thoroughly rippled, muscular man with long flowing black hair or whatever. Yeah, I'm just thinking about your husband, sure, whatever. Guy who never poops with the door open or something like that. Don't tell me like you're not. Like, I'm just thinking about him. Ask yourself, would you be comfortable if it were reversed? Would you be comfortable if your husband had his screen with one of those movies playing, and he went, oh, that blonde bombshell, I'm just picturing you in that situation. So don't worry, I'm picturing you the whole time. Of course, you would be rightly offended. You'd be like, no, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the other way, too. Again, sin, and if you've ever said that or done that, like, listen, that's just what we do. And again, the idea is sin will make you say and do dumb things. It will make you make excuses for itself. That's what we saw in Proverbs here. It gets you to do the bad for it. The strange woman doesn't have to do anything. She'll get you to do it all and make excuses for why you're doing it and say, well, it's really not that bad. That's the point. Don't let it convince you, ladies, that since you're a lady and not a man, that you're immune to this poison. Again, I think this is more of a danger for men just because of how we're biologically made by the Lord, but I think it is also a danger for women. And again, the bookstore will at least show you that, and the movies that are the love story movies that you want to watch with your kids, but all the scenes you have to fast forward through. That's a sign that should not be your love story movie. Those sorts of things. Don't give in to that. Beware of that. Just stay far away from it. I think another danger is not just to think, and again, I was going to talk a little bit about defending marriage here, but we're going to talk enough about that next week. I will say, women, also be aware, in our world, I would say, be aware of the temptation to be the strange woman. And when I say that, beware of the danger to be appealing to somebody else, to be alluring to somebody else who's not your husband, to catch the eye of other men, and even to dress or act in a way that you're going out thinking, I want someone to notice me physically today. I want someone to think I'm pretty, and especially if you want that someone to be someone, a male that is not your husband. Now, even if you think you never intend to consummate the flirtation, to do anything beyond just being noticed or the brief passing touch. It's never going to go beyond that. You just want to feel like someone can't resist you again. You want to feel like you've still got it. The only thing you just seem like you got kids and you're flustered all the time and wore out, and when someone comes up and says that you're not, you just want to hear that. Listen, that's not a game you want to play. Because Satan will set the hook in you as well. He needs women to be the strange woman, right? So he needs people to be that person, and make sure you're not playing to that. Because if he can, he'll take it to tear down one house. He'd like it even more if he could tear down two. So you don't be the avenue for Satan to get to double his rewards here, right? So just be careful, again, of that subtle danger to want to be, or at least appear like the strange woman yourself. But again, apart from adultery-specific dangers, the thing I end with is the danger. All these dangers around the strange woman are also dangers around sin in general. And just remember that going into this. It tends to be when it comes to sin, I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm going to live my life. Those things build up toward doing that with the strange woman, right? If you're listening to instruction and all these things, you're probably going to listen to instruction about being a godly husband and a godly man. If you're ignoring everything else, you're probably going to ignore that. So one of the ways to protect yourself from the strange woman is to listen to instruction not just about the strange woman, but to start training your ear to take instruction. When someone says, this is what you should do, this is how the Bible tells you should live, start doing that. That's going to train you to not say no when you hear this other instruction. If you just make your life a life of I'm not listening to anybody, I'm just going to do what I want to do, you're setting yourself up to go down that road. You're setting yourself up to be someone who hates instruction. You're setting yourself up to be someone who despises reproof. So the other thing you can do is when someone corrects you in any sin, not just the sin of the strange woman, but when someone says, hey, I don't think you should do that, or this doesn't seem very Godward in terms of living, listen to that. Take that. Train your ear to not hate that stuff, because naturally we don't like that. Naturally, when someone says that we're doing something wrong, our defenses come up real quick. Anybody, it could even be our spouse, the person we love the most in the world. And they can notice something like, maybe we could do this different. They're not even pointing out like, you're the worst. They're just like, I think we should start doing this. And you're like, why should we do that? I don't think we should do that. You haven't really thought about it. You just don't want anyone to have an idea that wasn't your idea. And so you just get defensive about it, and you never really meant to. But what is that showing you? Your ear is not trained to hear wisdom. It's trained to despise it until proven otherwise. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because the strange woman will get you down that road till you wake up and you find like, oh, I should have listened. And when you turn around, your body's consumed, your flesh is consumed, and so is your legacy. So train your ear not to despise correction. So in light of that, I'm going to call you all this week and tell you what you're doing wrong. No. But just train your ear for those things. Train your ear not to despise those things in general. Make sure you're not stiff-necked to any rebuke, and it'll help you not be stiff-necked to this particular one. And in the end, all sin is going to leave you, shocked and feeling stupid, embarrassed, shame. That's what all sin wants. All sin wants that for your life. All sin wants to kill you, and it wants to embarrass you in the process. And it wants to keep embarrassing you even after you're dead. Sin will beat a dead horse. And even after you die, sin will beat your legacy. It will shame your legacy. Your kids will remember it when they have their kids. It'll have consequences in their lives and on down. Sin does not mind beating a dead horse. So don't give it the opportunity. And remember that. Remember these warnings and stay far away from the strange woman and all of her kin. All right? Let's pray and ask the Lord to help us do that. I want us to start out in our prayers by thanking the Lord for his instruction. This warning from the passage here was that we would hate instruction, that I got into this sin because I hated instruction. So let's at least verbally and hopefully with our hearts today, just thank the Lord that we have instruction. We're not flying blind here. So thank the Lord that He's given you guidance. And ask Him that you would never hate it. Let this be your first prayer. That, Father, I would never hate your instruction. That's going to be a good protection. Thank the Lord for the reproof. It might be that you've been toying with this or thinking about it. It might be that you're guilty of the digital replacement, or you're guilty of getting too close to someone that you know that you shouldn't, and you felt it, but you felt that reproof, but you just haven't gotten far away. You've made excuses for this isn't that bad, and we're just good friends and whatever. But you knew the Holy Spirit was already pricking you before you even got to this verse, and you know you'd been reproved before, but you hadn't listened. Say, Father, thank you for the reproof. Say, God, help me to not despise it. Help me to never despise your correction, because you correct us because you love us. You correct me because you love me. Let me not hate that you love me. Why would I hate that you loved me, Father? And ask the Lord to protect you. Ask the Lord to protect your life. Ask the Lord to build your legacy, to protect it from those who would tear it down, who would see the danger of a blessing to 1,000 generations and love to wipe it out in one. And all the ways He'll try to set His hooks in you, because He hates the kingdom and He hates its citizens. And you are blessedly one of those. Pray, Father, deliver me from evil. Father in heaven, we come to you this morning, warned, Father, in your word, instructed, reproved. Father, given a vision of what would be, should we follow this course. The person in the passage, Father, didn't see until the end, and we, in our blessed position, Father, get to be at the end and see the outcome before we've lived it. And so, Father, I pray that we would heed that warning. I pray that we would run far away from the strange woman, that we would never even get closer, not come near to her. And I pray for our ladies that they also would beware of that danger even to themselves. Protect our homes, Father, because we want to build glorious homes for your kingdom. We want to build a legacy that shows the great wonders of living for you, the great blessing of a Godward life that could never be, Father, pulled to pursue sin. And so, Father, we ask your protection. We ask that the angel of the Lord would encamp around us as you promise he encamps around those who fear your name. Father, I pray that your angels would watch over these houses, that, Father, your Spirit would watch over our hearts, would guard us, and deliver us from evil, Father, and from all of her family. It's in Christ's name we ask this. Amen.